Good afternoon. Thank you all so much for coming to the second part of a truly auspicious day. Earlier today, we opened our $60 million health sciences facility, and now we're going to break ground. Well, not really break ground because the ground's already broken, right? Both ends are already blown off. We've already got a pad laid. This is amazing. The second project is another $60 million health education renovation that will serve our health education majors and obviously all of our athletics facilities. And I want to thank all the student athletes for coming out. They always show up everywhere you go with such graciousness and kindness. So thank you all for being here as well. I'd like to begin by acknowledging some very special guests. President Emeritus Jim Gaudino is with us again today. This is fantastic to have you back, Jim. This was part of his vision, and we're going to begin to realize that vision today. We also had the support of State Senator Jim Honeyford, who is here, and State Representative Alex Ybarra, who is here. They will get to speak in a moment. We appreciate your attendance, but also tremendously your support. You all help us do what we do here at Central Washington University, and we couldn't do it without your support, so thank you so much. We'd also like to recognize the outstanding work of our architects, our engineers, and our contractors who make this a reality. Studio Mang Straza Architects, and I think Dennis is here from Studio Mang. Thank you, Dennis. Hastings and Chavetta Architects, I don't think anybody's here from them, but they also did fantastic work. And Leidig Construction, we have several people here, Eric and Joe. And Danny's here too, one of our Central interns. He's a Central student and an intern working on this project. How cool is that? We also have lots of employees who have worked really, really hard on this project, and I want to take a minute to give a shout out to those folks. Our facilities management staff, especially Delano, Palmer, Shane Scott, and Joanne Hilleman. They're all here someplace, raise your hand. We have a lot of partnership also and leadership from our academic and staff folks. Our late interim dean, Heidi Henschel-Poulet, who passed away not long ago. She was instrumental in this vision, as well as athletic director Dennis Francois. Dennis is here. He can't raise his arm. At least not his left arm. He can raise his right arm. And sports and movement studies co-chairs Rory Weishar and Brian McGladry, who are here as well. Thank you so much. And while we create amazing visions among the faculty and staff, and very often the presidents, it's really a group of government relations staff that have to go work with our state legislators to provide the funding for this. So thank you to Steve DuPont and Linda Schockler for your great support. I'd now like to give a little bit of time to Jim Gaudino. It was his vision and his strong support that really landed the funding for this project and resulted in what will be a remarkable facility. So, President Gaudino.
Well, now that I'm not president, I will be brief. I just want to say thanks to everybody who had a hand in this project. There's a couple of things we did a little bit differently in this project that I think have borne some fruit. This would have been normally a difficult project to do, because unlike a traditional academic building, this is a building that has 75% academic use and about 25% athletic use. And so we were taking a student life activity and an academic activity and trying to blend those two with a lot of shared space. And Dennis and Heidi did an absolutely wonderful job of maximizing the space in this building to get it under the budget that we were able to talk the legislature into doing. So good on you, Dennis, and Heidi, good on you, Heidi, as well. We also, knowing that this was going to be a difficult project to accomplish everything that we wanted to do, we tried something different. Jeff Hensler, at the time, was chair of our CWU Foundation board. And we asked Jeff, rather than wait until we designed the building and then say, where do you think would you go fundraise for it? We actually put Jeff on the project design team. And Jeff sat at a lot of the meetings, and when we would say, when Delano would say, we can't do that, or Joanne would say, we can't do that, that's outside the budget, sometimes Jeff would say, but I think that's the kind of thing that would appeal to a donor. So we found that and we have, I think for the first time that I can recall, we've raised just shy of $1 million before we broke ground on this building. And that's something that I think will stand us well into the future. There are so many people. I want to echo President Wolpert's support and thanks to our absolutely fantastic group of legislators. When I went to Senator Honeyford and said, we need Nicholson fixed up, he looked at me and said, oh, that's an athletic building. I played basketball there. I can't fund that building. And I think you said you took classes in this building. And I said, well, remember, you took PE classes in this building, didn't you? No, he didn't. He played basketball in this building. But once we sat down and had a conversation about the kind of unique nature of Nicholson Pavilion, that it being primarily athletic and secondarily, primarily academic and secondarily athletic, then we saw a pathway forward. And Jim and Alex and Judy Warnick and Tom Dent just did an absolute great job in supporting this project. So, thank you. It's the last building I'll ask you for. It won't be the last building that a gym asks you for, but it's the last building that I'll ask you for. So thank you all for making this. This really becomes kind of the heart and soul of the campus. There was a vision, and then I'll get off the podium. There was a vision in which we were going to dramatically change the shape and feel of this building. And we said, no, if you think of Central, you think of those darn cables on that funny looking building that is on the north side of campus. So the good news is we will still be looking at those funny cables in that crazy building on the north side of campus. So the iconic Nicholson Pavilion will remain. So thank you all. I look forward to sitting next to some of you in the basketball season when it rolls around in 2023. So go Cats. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jim. It's my pleasure to introduce another member of our Wildcat family, and as President Gaudino said, somebody whose support was absolutely instrumental in making this come to life. Senator Jim Honeyford, would you come forward and provide a few remarks? Thank you.
Well, this is not the usual Ellensburg weather. The wind's hardly blowing, the sunshine is nice and warm. I first came associated with Central in 1959 when I transferred here as a junior. I was married, lived off campus, and I guess I was a slow learner because I graduated in 63, 66, and then 71, but finally got it all done. First met Jim, he came into my office, and I had a car part sitting on my desk. And he walked in the door and he said, "That's a Model A distributor." And I knew right then that this was a guy that knew what grease under the fingernails was and well, it really set a good tone for us to work together. And he pushed hard for this. It was kind of a difficult sell at times because it was an athletic facility, but we got the job done. And I don't know what else I can say. It's really a great feeling to be able to participate in these kind of things and get funding for those projects and see them come to fruition like we did this morning, and we'll see in a few years on this. So I'll conclude by saying, go Wildcats!
Thank you so much, Jim. And yes, I'd like to welcome Representative Alex Ybarra up for a few words. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you very much, and apologize for forgot my jacket at home in Quincy, and so I need one of those Central Washington football jerseys. So anybody got an extra one? I'm gonna need something to stay warm here. But anyway, I'm a Wildcat, graduated in '89, been in this building many times, many years, and what's it mean to? I'm from Quincy, And so that's probably about 50 miles away. And what's that mean to Central Washington? And so I'm just going to talk a little quick about that. My parents are migrant workers. They used to go from Texas to California, to Oregon to Washington, to Chicago, Illinois. And we ended up here in Quincy. And I grew up there. I was born and raised there. And when I was growing up, I was with 40 kids, all Hispanic, mostly Mexicans, in Quincy. And 5 of us graduated. 2 of us made it. The other 3 barely made it. Nobody went to college other than myself and my brother. I finished up at Central. But now, years later, I'm at Quincy. I was a school board member, and we must have had 50 kids from Quincy, most of them Hispanic, go to Central Washington University. So times have changed. Times have changed for the good thing. And I think the previous president and now president are looking for the folks in Central Washington to come to Central because it's a great school. I'm proud to be a Wildcat, and I'm still looking for that sweatshirt. Nobody's taken anything off yet. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. And in addition to very strong support from the state, President Gaudino already mentioned this. We've done an enormous amount of fundraising. I want to thank Dennis for a lot of that. Working with our foundation office, we've raised almost $1 million to really build out some of the great features for this facility. And we couldn't make it state of the art in the way we did without that support. Many of you are in the audience who have helped us with that. Jeff led the way in providing that vision and saying, you know, that's something that we can fundraise for. Let's make sure that we get that addition, because if we don't do it now, we won't do it. I do now have the honor of introducing Jean Adams, who is an alumna, a donor, and the president of the Wildcat Athletic Association. She'll come up and say a few words.
Well, thank you. This has been a long time coming, and we're all so excited about this. And it's really nice to have the football team here. But, you know, as many of you know, I was very close with my mother. And she loved Central. She loved everything about Central. She loved the football games, tailgating, just anything Central. And so it's a happy day, but a sad day. She would have loved to have been here today, to have just seen this, because she knows it's good for the school, it's good for the kids, it's good for the community. And she inspired me, to give. And Joe and I are so excited to have the area that's going to be housing all the coaches be named after my mother. And she was a great mother, but she was a tough mother, and she'll be watching those coaches. So go Cats.
Thank you, Jean. I would also like to recognize Senator Junie Warnick, who also provided a great deal of support for this project. And I look forward to continuing to work with her and others to create opportunities like this for our students, but also for the citizens of Central Washington. This renovation will provide benefits for not just our health education programs and our students, but also for many of our local partners, like the high schools who use spaces like this for their graduations and other ceremonies. So it's a great partnership, not just internally, but also for the external community. All right, that's enough talking. You all are not here to hear a bunch of speeches. It's time to dig into the dirt and break ground.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.